guys, Dakara here and welcome back to my channel. So I'm assuming you've just watched the season 14 gag reel of my reaction to those bloopers. If you did, thank you so much and thank you for stopping by to find out my thoughts on the season overall. This is like probably one of my favourite videos to film. I love discussing what journey the boys have been on, what I think might happen in the future, what shook me, my favourite bits, my least favourite bits, etc. So yeah, stay tuned to find out more. So where do I even begin? I just don't know. Season 14 overall I think was extremely strong. There were, however, a few little holes throughout the season, but didn't take away my enjoyment from the season overall, which I think is the key factor here. And even thinking about the finale and stuff like that, it blew my mind. I think we've had some really emotional scenes, really scary scenes, really strong, powerful, some very comedic ones. We've had like the whole spectrum of feels in this season, which Supernatural tends to do anyway, like they just do it well. So let's start from a season 14 premiere. To be honest, I feel like they've done stronger premieres than this season 14 one, I will say that. But I think it still set up the season really well anyway. And one thing that I noted very early on in that episode was the dynamic of Sam in this new leadership role with Dean not being around. Dean is the big brother. Obviously, he always does everything he possibly can for Sam. Sometimes it can be extremely protected, but that isn't an insult to Dean. That's just showing how big of a heart Dean has for his baby brother, because he will always be his little brother, you know? Like nothing is going to change that. And he cares so deeply for him. So I totally understand where Dean's coming from and wanting to protect Sam 24/7. But like I say, sometimes it can mean that it can be quite suffocating for Sam when he wants to spread his wings, do his own thing. And with Sam being the younger brother, I think he looks up to Dean a lot and he respects Dean a lot and he doesn't want to upset him. And their personalities are so different. So Sam is very, I wear my heart on my sleeve. He's very intelligent, he's very book smart, but Dean is very much more hands-on and very street smart. He is quick thinking, he's very stubborn, very protective. They're just polar opposites, but they work so well as a team, I feel, because of that. So sometimes, because Dean is very quick thinking and very impulsive, Sam sometimes like calms that side of Dean down. And on the other end, Sam can be very indecisive and Dean can sometimes say, right, come on now, we've just got to do this. And then Sam's like, right, okay, we shall do this. So they just balance each other so perfectly, in my opinion. And when Dean wasn't around at the very beginning of the season, Sam then allowed to step up to the plate, you know, get his big boy pants on, do more leadership roles within the bunker as well, with all of these new people that they took from the other world. And I was just really impressed with how he handled it. And I had a few comments saying, well, he's made some mistakes and he shouldn't have let Maggie do X, Y, and Z. And to that I say, I kind of agree with you. He has made mistakes, but the way I see it is, you have to make mistakes to learn, and this is his time now to shine. So you learn from those mistakes and you grow from them, and it doesn't take away the fact that he did step up and he did try and do the leadership stuff, and he did a bloody good job as well, in my opinion. And yes, mistakes were made, but I think that makes it more realistic as well as a story, rather than him just nailing everything straight off the bat. And yeah, realism in this show, I think when it comes to people, is very, very strong, really strong, because they don't make people perfect in this show. There's too many shows that sort of generalize and perfect a person, like the sun shines out of their bottom, and in reality it's just not realistic. Like, people make mistakes, people say things they don't mean, people regret their decisions, people are proud of their decisions. Like, there's very, very up and down, and Supernatural nails it again, on my opinion. So I enjoyed seeing Sam in his leadership role. I enjoyed him sort of still pining over Dean though, like Dean was still very much in his priority list, which I loved. And I liked seeing him with Mary more, because I feel like this show very heavily focuses on Dean's relationship with Mary, and Sam's kind of falls short purely because Sam wasn't around when Mary was around, because he was a tiny, tiny baby. So it just makes more sense for Dean to have that bigger connection with his mum, whereas Mary still has an equal connection to both sons, because I mean that's what a mother's job is. But as the show shows it, we sort of see it was more biased towards Dean's side, again because it's realistic. But it was nice that they tapped in this season to Sam and Mary's relationship a little bit more. We had a lot more one-on-one scenes with them, which I really enjoyed. And Mary just seemed to be a much more likable version of herself in this season. Because last season, that it was just ropey. It was hella ropey. She was making decisions that just weren't... I don't know, weren't motherly, I think is the best way to describe it. They seemed quite selfish, and as I've said, like in past seasons and past discussions, I don't really blame Mary per se for that. It's more like I feel the dialogue and the way she was written wasn't executed correctly, and I stand by my statement on that. Because in this one, we still, like her character, her personality and stuff, it was still her. She still had that essence of Mary, but the words that she was speaking just seemed a little harsh and a bit blunt, to be honest. And this season, I feel the writers did a much better job at softening that. I mean, obviously it was all cruel because they ripped her away from us, but we'll get onto that later on. I also loved seeing Sam and Jack obviously bond a little bit more as well. And Dean's relationship with Jack really blossomed in this season. It got hairy towards the end. Again, I'll discuss that later on. Considering Dean's relationship with Jack at the very beginning, he hated him. He didn't want to look at him. He couldn't bear seeing his face. It brought back some terrible memories. He got over that in this season, which was really nice to explore. And there was a soft spot there for him. There was a time when we feared for Jack's life. I can't remember which episode it was, but it was early on-ish in the season, like 4 or 5 maybe, I'm not too sure. And we thought that Jack was going to be gone forever. The fear that the boys felt, Cass included, was on another level, and I just loved the way that they executed that entire thing. And again, by love, I mean I hated having my heart ripped out, but from a fan of the show, I did enjoy exploring those emotions, and the dialogue, the execution, the production, everything was just top notch in my opinion. I'm really glad as well that they brought back Rowena, and she sort of grew with her relationship with the boys and helped them even more so. Now tried to help Jack as well, which was really good. And when I think back to Rowena at the beginning, who'd have thought we'd be here? She has that love for the boys, and she can deny it if she wants to, but she does. It's there. It's friggin' there, and I enjoy seeing it. I like the fact that she's stepping up. She's sort of stepping into Crowley's shoes, really. I mean, she judged Crowley for doing it, and now she's doing it herself, because the boys are special, there's no denying it. Which sort of leads to the point of Billie, death. I always love seeing her. I mean, when I say love seeing her, I always get nervous, like my heart starts pounding, because I feel like she's going to rip someone very, very precious away from me, which she typically does. But I just love the character of Billie. I think she does an amazing job at stepping in Death's shoes, trying to fill that role as well. Big shoes to fill, and she does it incredibly. And I liked that scene where Billie and Rowena had that discussion as well, because it resonated with me. And I loved how she spoke to Rowena about the decisions and stuff that life life faces. That also reminds me of the fact that Sam is supposedly gonna be the one to end Rowena. I wondered if they would bring that up again this season. I really did. I thought that they were gonna explore that again, but they didn't, which was interesting. I thought maybe Rowena's life was going to be coming to an end in this one. I'm glad I'm wrong because I love that queen. Rowena, you're an absolute ledge. But is that going to return? And if so, possible prediction for season 15 that is going to be the case. Sam possibly bringing Rowena's end to fruition. And also plot twist would be if it wasn't him, and because Dean's already changed his future with the whole Box and Michael thing, that maybe that has a butterfly effect and has now changed Sam's future as well. I don't know. Could go either way. But yeah, let's get on to Michael Dean. I loved the outfit. Let's just get that out of the way. I just have to say it yet again. Loved it. Peaky Blinders Dean. Chef's kiss. There was something about Jensen playing another character that I really enjoyed as well. Seeing him be almighty and powerful and just really keep his cool. I felt his strength when he was Michael as well, but a different strength. It was like an arrogant type of strength, and when he is Dean, he's more of a passionate strength. Like, he will fight and fight. He'll always keep fighting. But I enjoyed seeing Jensen play another role. I was a big fan of the female actress that played Michael as well. I think she just did an incredible job. And they all sort of held Michael's like stance, the way that he talks, his personality, which is a credit to the actors there as well. So many big things in this season, like so much happened, and a lot of that was to do with the relationship between all four boys and their upsets, their turmoil, their trials and tribulations. I just think when it comes to Cass and Dean, this one affected me a little bit more, because when Dean turned around after the whole Mary thing and said, "You're dead to me," it was just too much, because I understand Dean's anger. He's lost his bloody mother. I get it. But it's so misplaced, in my opinion. Like, to say that you're dead to me because he had one little moment that he saw of Jack, he would have expected that to change everything? Really? Like Sam said, they all knew that something wasn't quite right with Jack. They knew it. So for him to push the blame on Cass like that, I just didn't like it. Dean, I love you. You're my fave. But misplaced anger, 100%. Cass's reaction to it just sort of broke me a little bit. You could see how upset he got over it, and I just don't like it. But yeah, it was nice to see Jack as well have a different version to him, because at the very beginning of season 14, he was really vulnerable. He didn't have his powers. He was really worried about letting Michael go and not killing him when he had the chance. He was trying to find his feet in the bunker with all these new people, wondering where Dean was, and wondering if he should kill Michael, even though Dean is the host of Michael, etc, etc. He got really sick, and then people tried to help and couldn't help. Eventually Sam, you beautiful man, came up with the idea to speak to Lily as well, and it worked. But the more he messed with his soul, the more fearful I become, and rightfully so, because he ended up burning off his entire soul to save the boys. To save his dads, he did what he had to do. And because of that, the domino effect, he then ended up losing his soul and killing Mary. And Nick as well. He killed some bad people, but he also killed some very, very good people, Mary being one of them, which was really, really hard to watch. As you saw, like, my reaction, it just kind of broke me a little bit, because they sort of built Mary up to be this perfect mother again, and I was like all for it. She was a badass woman. She was kicking ass, taking names, and being a very loving mother, checking in with her sons a lot more, opening up more, talking to her sons about how she feels. decisions that she makes, etc. The boys were being supportive in return. Red flags should have been going off. I should have instantly known that Mary was going to die. I twigged a little late, still beforehand, but I did twig a little late. And I am sad to see her go, to be honest. I really thought that they would end up bringing her back as some sort of demon-esque character, and sort of like an Eve type of thing where we were going to be in trouble again. So when they brought the body back and it was an empty shell, and then they did the hunter's funeral, I was like, alright, okay, well, got that wrong. I mean, typically I do get things wrong, but I was just kind of hopeful as well because I love the character. I love Samantha. I think she does an incredible job. So yeah, then the boys are then against Jack because he killed their mother, and hard to forgive something like that. But then Chuck shows up, which sort of blew me away. I kind of been wanting Chuck to show his face for so long. So when he did actually show up, I was kind of shocked. Like, I've been wanting it. I literally praying for it. Like, Chuck, where are you? Surely Chuck and Amara. I think it was even last season. I was like, Chuck and Amara, hello? Anybody there? But nothing. But then this season, at the very end, when the world is gone to complete chaos, then he shows up. And I was just a bit annoyed. He really pissed me off, to be honest. And then to turn the boys against him like it was some sort of game, like they were just puppets and he was pulling the strings. Wasn't a fan of Chuck in that moment at all, and now it looks as though possibly Chuck's going to be the big bad of season 15, which is weird because who'd have thought God would be the bad guy. I love the way that he plays him. I love the way that he still has that comedy, and sometimes you forget his strength, but then click of the fingers and you soon remember. Plus when Dean was like smashing up that guitar, when Chuck was like, I think we're due a song, and he was just like smashing the guitar all up. And I think in that moment Dean sort of forgot who he was dealing with. Like, this is God, for God's sake. For God's sake. But then when he just lifted his finger and said, don't, I felt that. It was like a reminder, like, you don't really want to mess with God. I am wondering as well, like another cheeky little prediction, is next season if Billie is going to become a more main character, and if she's going to step in to help with the whole God thing. I don't really know what she can do per se, but I do know that she's extremely powerful. So we need all hands on deck. With regards to God trying to get Dean to kill Jack, I'm not gonna lie, I thought he'd do it. I thought he was gonna do it. I thought he was gonna pull that trigger and that'd be the end of him because of what he did to Mara, but no, he didn't. He proved me wrong in the best possible way, because I honestly think sometimes they forget what Jack has done for them, and they've done a lot for Jack, don't get me wrong, it's not like a competition, but it's one of those where he instantly forgets that when Sam lost his soul, Sam also tried to kill Dean. He turned it into a vampire, for Christ's sake. These things happen, but because Dean loves Sam so much, like on a whole other dimension to what he does anyone else, he sort of puts them to the back of his mind when it comes to these situations. Like he never really compares or sees it from another point of view. And I think that's why I love Sam for that regard, because he'll say, Dean, look, remember when I was soulless? Or he'll be like, but it's my fault that he's even lost his soul. Remember that? Remember how it was my fault that he's done this? And they've just got to try and save him, because that's what they do. They try to save people. It's, again, one of those things that in the moment you get wrapped up in it, but it makes total sense afterwards. It was great seeing a little cameo by Danielle, Jensen's wife, in this one as well. Sister Jo, I think she was really interesting. I know from reading my Patreon comments that not everyone was a big rooter of Sister Jo, but I found her really interesting, mainly because she was shown strength, she was shown how manipulative she could be to survive. Like, she was showing all of these interesting traits. But it was those one-on-one conversation scenes that I just loved, and you really weren't sure what side she was going to be on. What I've discovered is it's always her side first, similarly to like a Crowler, for instance, but she will help those that she feels are in need as well, which is good. But let's roll it back again for a minute and just discuss more so Dean's journey in this when it comes to Michael and what Billie said about him having to die. That stuff to me felt really heavy, because imagine having something, well, someone trapped in your noggin for ages trying to fight out. I can't comprehend how that would feel, but I feel like Jensen did an incredible job at portraying that. Like, it felt real to me when watching those scenes. When he said that when Michael was taking over him, he was basically drowning. Oh, it pains me, like actually pains me. And the scene that Sam and Dean had in the car where Dean sort of opened up, I felt Sam's emotions there, because that's the last thing he wants to hear, that his brother was going through so much pain whilst he was trying to find him, doing all of it that he could, but struggling at the same time, like struggling to stay afloat. Luckily, Michael decided to leave him. And I didn't buy that he was completely gone, but I didn't expect it to go down the route that it did. So he was basically jumping in him whenever he wanted to, using his eyes as windows for his plan so he could plan a little bit better. He did a really good job at it, I hate to say. But then when Dean stepped up, thanks to Cass and Sam saving the day, jumping in his mind, his memories, etc., it was just amazing. It showed so much strength, which we know Dean has anyway. Like, Dean is just incredibly strong, like stronger than any other human probably that we know. He's always surprising Cass, which is nice to see as well. And he's an angel. He's been around for years and years and years and years, and yet he still gets shook by some of Dean's decisions and his strength. But when he got out, when he got hit on the head, the fear that I felt was unreal. And then when I realised that Michael went into Rowena, jeez, yeah, that was just something else, that was. Thank the Lord that she survived though, because I'd have been very upset otherwise. Going back to what Billie was saying, she knew a bunch of different ways in which she was gonna die, and then due to this it turned out to be only one way, and that was to lock Michael away in this coffin and jump him in the Pacific Ocean and just buried alive with Michael running amok the whole time, which I just cannot bear, literally cannot bear the thought of it. But Billie was basically saying, look, if you don't do this, the world ends, so no pressure, lad. But luckily they find another way, which Jack literally saved the day. Like, he really did save the day. He stepped up to the plate, but in doing so ended up losing his entire soul, and then being a force to be reckoned with, extremely worried about the mayhem that he could cause. To say, for instance, him saying people shouldn't lie, and then no one could lie, and the mayhem that caused, and then Chuck having no choice but to show up. And can we just talk about Chuck again for a minute? I was so annoyed at him as well, because Jack is his relation. I expected more from him, I really did, and he was just so cold. He was just like, well, if I'm not the most powerful person on the planet, we need to get rid of that person so that I can continue being the most powerful person on the planet. I just hated it. I really, really hated it. I'm hoping that they solve that in season 15, to be fair. So let's talk about possible predictions. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have many, but I do hope that the boys get out of this somehow, because they were getting closed in that cemetery. And to me, Chuck was just playing a game from the beginning, and what alt Michael was saying, kind of proven factual now, because he kept saying how this world was his favourite and his most entertaining to watch, which is just madness. It's actual madness. And Sam and Dean stepping up to God and facing him, I think is gonna annoy Chuck. Obviously it's gonna annoy him, but maybe to the point where we are in trouble, because it could all end up in disaster, and season 15 could potentially end with Chuck choosing to get rid of this world altogether. And that sort of hurts me, to be honest. I don't like the thought of all of their hard work thrown away because they stepped up to a leader that was just a bit of a freaking douche. I just expected more from Chuck. I'm still kind of shook about it. I don't know what his end goal is other than to get rid of Jack. I'm hoping that Jack can maybe help them some way now, and they want him on their side when it comes to Chuck, obviously. Maybe Amara will show up in season 15 and sort of balance the scales a little bit. She has this soft spot for Dean as well, so maybe that will play a part in it as well. She's been against God once before. She's been furious at him for centuries. Maybe it's time to be mad at him again? Question mark? I don't know. All of the demons and all of the good that the boys did, God reversing that and bringing them all back. What I predict is that that's going to be resolved quite quick. I might be completely wrong, but I feel as though it's going to be an absolutely amazing premiere. It maybe even second episode in as well, but then they'll resolve that, and then the next thing will be battling it out against God and trying to get him to stop being a bit of a prick. Really. So yeah, I'm guessing that Billie will play a part in it, but how are they going to beat God without Jack on their side as well? Maybe Jack will sort himself out a little bit. Maybe Amara will give Jack a soul. Or maybe, like Donatello said, he'll be fine without the soul. You just need to keep your eye on him and sort of like nurture him a little bit better than what they were doing. The whole gun thing as well, like pointing the gun at Jack, like I did struggle with that, I really did. I always see Jack as just a young soul. Not been on the planet for long enough to really grasp what's right and what's wrong, but his heart seems to always have the right view. Like he always tries to do what's good, and I guess that's Kelly Klein and the influences of the boys and Cass that's made that so strong as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this season overall. I know that there's a few that really don't like it, but rather than to just say it's terrible, let me know why you thought that, and try and focus on some of the good in it as well, like some of the good points that you thought were strong, because you must have continued watching it to the end. Like how can you can't give up on it, right? If you're still watching these reactions, you must have still seen the end of the show, etc. Remember, no spoilers about season 15 or the end in any way. I want to be completely blind going into my reactions. Please and thank you. Big shout out to my mods for helping me in the comment section as well. You guys are the absolute best for keeping me spoiler free, so thank you for that. Personally, I enjoy Jack as well, but I know that not everyone does. They feel as though Jack is a replacement for Cass, but personally I see it as an add-on to Cass, like an extra, a growth that because we never see this father side of Cass. Like he's doing an incredible job. He is the one that's been rooting for him from the very beginning. Like I just love him so much. Like he's never give up. He literally never give up. He wants to fulfill his promise to Kelly Klein that he'll look after him as well. He wants to stand by that word, and I just think that he's doing all he can. And yes, he probably should have told the boys about what Jack did with the snake, 100%. But would that have really changed anything? Like Cass saying to Dean, look, he killed his snake. Realistically, I could see Dean reacting with, huh? A snake? Well, it's only a snake. And then cracking on with whatever they were doing at the time, like their hunts. But because he chose not to say, it's an easy way to hold the blame. But you might think otherwise, so again, let me know what your thoughts are. Always be respectful in the comments, guys, as well, about other people's opinions. It's always nice to have a little debate on if you think a show is good, or the things that you think are stronger than others, or decisions that the writers have made that you're not fond of, etc. But yeah, just be respectful of other people's opinions. Like, we don't want any name calling or anything like that, please and thank you. But yeah, you're more than... But I welcome people's thoughts and opinions on this show, like I really do. And I don't expect people to agree with me either. And again, I love reading why people don't agree with me. It's just one of those things. And I think that Supernatural, like I've said from the beginning, is one of those shows that just creates these debates, and they're fun as well. And even though they're like fictional characters, we do have this bond with them. It's very strange. 15 seasons are going to do that to a person, I guess. But the root of the show is family and friends and those bonds, and that will always be my favorite thing about the show. And then the Supernatural obviously is very cool. It's like an add-on to my love for the show with the whole like supernatural twist. But yeah, them bonds, the relationships are just incredible. Like I could not love them more. We did see a bit more of Bobby as well this season, well, old Bobby, which I loved. We also got to see Charlie return a little bit as well for a cameo. And honestly, I enjoy seeing people coming back, but I do think that they make some decisions not in the strongest of ways, like bringing Bobby back at the end of the season to say like we need to end Jack, like come on, he's out of control, but then having him disappear again seemed a little bit odd to me. To bring them back, I want some weight to it as well. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. Some of the Monster of the Weeks this season haven't been the strongest in my opinion. The demigod that was like a snake, I wasn't really feeling that one. There was the girl having the crush on Jack, was that it? But then she wrote him that love letter and we've not seen anything from her either. Or maybe she'll come back in season 15, who knows? But yeah, I wasn't really blown away with the Monster of the Week, but I was really interested in Jack's journey with him wanting to try and make friends and things like that, struggling with decision making, struggling with the voices in his head. So that brings me to Nick as well. So like at the end of season 13, I thought, right, that's the end of Lucifer. Thank the sweet Lord he's gone. Which technically he didn't really, because he was back in the empty, but I digress. But then we still had Nick. So Nick somehow survived. Weird. But they wanted him to sort of go on his life and do better for himself. But instead, he was an absolute monster, serial killer, sociopath, which we then explored a little bit more in this season. And he was determined to bring Lucifer back because he mourned him. He mourned the power. He loved that power. So I did really want him to be put down, and I wanted him to be put down by the hands of Sam, just because of the way he got in Sam's head. Sam felt like it was a lot of his fault because he let him go and he wanted the best for him, etc. But he's just one of those like annoying pests. Like he just gets in your head and annoys the hell out of you, and he was doing that to Jack, and I honestly feel like that was why Jack did what he did to Mara as well, because he got so overwhelmed, and then you've got this little annoyance in your head. But apparently Jack was bringing that into his subconscious, so it's questionable. I did love seeing Jack with his powers again. Like I always wanted him to have his powers, but I wanted his powers with a soul, not without a soul. And it's just a shame that's now gone, because we sort of missed that cuteness about Jack. Like he had that vulnerable, just soft side to him, which I really enjoyed. And now he's extremely powerful, still very naive, but we just lose the softness, which is such a shame. But I did love seeing him like using his powers and destroying Michael for the boys, and there was some really nice one-lines where he's talking about his family, which I really liked. So then when it came to that dreaded scene where Dean was like trying to blag him into that box, I hated that so much. Like it made me so uncomfortable. I felt Sam's anxiety in that moment as well, which was like brushing off on me. Like I just didn't like it. It made me uneasy. And when he come out of that smoke with his glowing eyes, jeez Louise, it was so powerful, such a powerful scene. On his knees in front of Dean saying, you know, just end me, just do it. And then Dean not being able to physically do it was another little plot twist that we love about this show. So yeah, this was the ramble of all rambles, I am sure, but I'll try and edit it into something worthwhile posted. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a cheeky thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to, but as always, there are no pressure here. I also have a Patreon where I've extended and exclusive videos over on there, and if you have any troubles or have any questions, just let me know and I'll try and answer them as best I can. I live stream on a Friday and a Saturday over on Twitch. So join me on there. Twitch is a much more intimate community over there. I have a lot more one-on-one time with you guys, so any questions is probably best heading to Twitch on a Friday or Saturday. Turn the bell notifications on as well on Twitch, because sometimes I do extra streams here and there. So yeah, I just love talking to you all, I'm not gonna lie. So head on over, and yeah, I guess we're on to the final of Supernatural. I'm absolutely terrified. Genuinely terrified. I hope to see you there though, guys. Thank you so much. Bye for now.